This is Umesh, History Faculty at Manifest IAS, and this is the Current Jobs Initiative. And as part of this Current Jobs Initiative, we have started a series on World Heritage Sites in order to help the students tackle better their culture. As part of this series, we have selected a total of 38 World Heritage Sites which have been designated by UNESCO, and the ancient section of World Heritage Sites we have already finished over a range of themes, and now we are going to move towards the medieval themes. And in medieval themes, we already had a discussion on the historical city of Hampi, the historical archaeological city of Hampi, and as part of this series in medieval India, we are going to have a discussion today on the Qutub complex, the Qutub Shahi complex, which is the foundational site of Islamic architecture in India. Before heading towards the Qutub Minar complex, we have to have a fair idea about what is the basics of Islamic architecture. Then only we will be able to understand most of the medieval sites very clearly, and how Islamic architecture is also very distinct from the Hindu architecture, which is contained earlier, which is part of Indian construction style earlier.
Subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.
When it comes to Islamic architecture, the first and foremost feature that we have to look at is, so these are the criteria for being designated as a World Heritage Site, and all the sites are of outstanding universal value. We are going to have a discussion about how they are outstanding universal value, and we'll also have a look at which of these criteria Qutub Shahi complex is going to fulfill. Okay, these are the things, some of the things which I am going to discuss. And when it comes to the Islamic architecture, the basic style of Islamic architecture is known as arcuate style, and as part of this, we have some typical features, which are: number one is arch, and number two is dome. These are very, very important in all Islamic structures, and arch is, in fact, okay, I'll show you the image of arch. This is the arch. Okay, in an arch there will be two vertical support pillars, okay, in this fashion. Then this line where the arch starts is known as the springing line. This is known as the springing line, and from here the stones will be distributed in a curvilinear format, and this arch is usually used to span an opening. Okay, whenever there is a door kind of structure, to span the opening, this kind of arch is used. And typically in Hindu temples, it has the span on opening, it is covered by lintel, but here the arch replaces the lintel. Then apart from that, the arch is also used to support the load which is present on top. It means that it functions as a beam. Okay, usually in Hindu temple architecture, the beam is the one which holds the entire weight of the temple. Here the arch holds the weight on one side, and it also replaces the lintel, which is meant to have a span on the opening. Then apart from that, it also replaces the pillar too. So in fact, the arch is the central element of Islamic architecture. It replaces three of Hindu architectural features: pillar, lintel, and what is the pillar? One is pillar, it replaces a lintel, pillar, and along with pillar and lintel, it also replaces the beam too. Okay, this is something which is very important for us. Then after that, okay, if you have a look at, when it comes to the Islamic architecture, in India, apart from the arch, the second important element which is present is called the dome. Dome is usually the hemispherical structure which is present on the central central structure or central building. It is present, that is known as a dome. It is a hemispherical structure. Okay, it usually gives a pleasing skyline on one side, and it also is used to enclose huge open spaces. We need a system like the dome. Okay, that is something which is very, very interesting. Then apart from that, we have structures like pendentive is one, and squinch is the second one. Whenever a dome is placed on arches, it contains these structures in the dark. Okay, see, it is very clearly shown. Whenever a dome is placed on four arches, then it has these triangular structures which are known as pendentives. Then apart from that, the dome is also sometimes placed on square kind of structures. Here the connectors between the circular dome and the square platform are known as squinches. So this is how it is made. Then apart from this, if you have a look at what are the other features which are part of Islamic architecture. Okay, one more thing is known as mihrab, which is a semicircular niche which is indicative of the direction of a Kaaba. Okay, Kaaba is the holy city of Makkah. There, in order to usually Muslims pray in the direction of Kaaba. That is the reason why it has to be indicated, the direction has to be indicated, and on the wall itself, just like any other niche, okay, which we have discussed in temple architecture, here also we will have a niche kind of structure in this fashion, okay, and here there will be beautiful calligraphy and other form of designs in order to indicate the direction of the Makkah. This is known as mihrab. Then apart from that, they have minarets to the central structure. Minarets to central structure, okay, let's suppose this is the central structure, then aside it we have long pillar kind of structures which are known as minarets. They are very beautifully designed, usually have a dome on top, okay, or a cupola on top. So this is the kind of structures which are present, which are known as minarets associated with the central structure. Then apart from that, you have things like vaulted roof. Vaulted roof is an extended arch. We have discussed it. It is a format of a shala format. Then apart from that, lime plaster and gypsum are used for the first time in Islamic architecture. Before that, there is no usage of lime plaster. The entire connection is made with the help of clay in ancient Indian structures. So lime plaster and gypsum have been used for the first time, and there is a very different ornamentation when compared to Hindu structures, okay, because the Islamic structures, the ornamentation style, it is not similar to Hindu structure, because in Hindu structure usually animal and human figures are used for ornamentation. Here it is prohibited. That is the reason why there is no ornamentation using animal and human figures. So now when it comes to the character of these structures, they are usually massive and extensive buildings, and they prefer open halls because it is a congregational religion. People have to gather together at one place and they have to pray. They need a line of vision without any hindrance by the pillars. That is the reason why they have chosen the structure of arch and beam, arch and a dome, so that it gives a massive inner space without any hindrance for the vision. That is the reason why they have selected this, the Islamic architecture has selected this method. And the practical needs of congregational religion are these, because of they have a liking for the line of sight. Then apart from that, love of light and space with simple severity, okay. So what they did was, they needed the buildings, or according to the injunctions of Quran, the buildings should be very, very simple, okay, and most of these buildings are very simple in their outlook, okay. They are not extravagant. Then apart from that, usually these buildings had lofty portals means lofty chambers, entrance gateways. Then usually they also contained open courtyards. And when it comes to the ornamentation pattern too, usually most of these buildings, because they don't have any human or animal figures, they chose calligraphy, and this calligraphy is done in 4 different types, which is known as Kufi, Tugra, Nasak and Nastaliq. There has been a question on a Nastaliq in UPSC. What does the term Nastaliq mean in medieval India? Okay, it is a type of calligraphy. So all these 4 types of calligraphy or different styles of writing Arabic are used to design the buildings. Then apart from that, usually they employ geometrical patterns like triangles, circles, okay, rhombus. These kind of structures they usually employ. Then apart from multicolored tiles, each building usually has a red sandstone, then white sandstone, marble, okay, yellow sandstone. These kind of different kinds of tiles are used in conjunction, okay, in order to give an effect of ornamentation. That is known as multicolored style. Then apart from that, they usually have designs of floral works, okay, because depiction of flowers is not prohibited. So floral works are usually are present in the ornamentation, and this entire thing is known as arabesque pattern. Usually the arabesque pattern includes calligraphy plus geometrical patterns plus floral designs. All the 3 things combined together, they form the ornamentation which is known as arabesque pattern. Then apart from that, you have the jali work. Jali work is typically, so even though it takes a little bit of a longer time, we are going to discuss all the basics very clearly, okay. Jali work is usually perforated stone style, okay, perforated stone style, where they take a stone and they perforate it into numerous holes, okay, geometrical shaped holes they make into the stone, so that it gives ventilation for the interiors of the building. That is known as jali work or perforated stone work. It is in fact typically a Gujarati and Rajasthani style of architectural element, and it has been adapted by the Islamic structures. Then apart from that, Pietra dura is also there. We are going to discuss more about Pietra dura in Taj Mahal, but Pietra dura is a stone inlay work, how it is done and stuff we are going to discuss in Taj Mahal later. Then usually some of the buildings, particularly during Mughal time, they are having the pattern of charbagh. It means that, let's suppose this is a central building. There will be 4 gardens on 4 sides, which are typically differentiated with the help of water canals. With the help of water canals, that is known as Charbagh style. Then apart from that, you have multicolored marbles too, which is known as opus sectile. Multicolored marbles are also sometimes used in structure, which is known as opus sectile. And later day, some of the emblems from Hindu decoration also have been adapted by the structures in Islamic architecture, like lotus, bell, swastika, animals and swans. During particularly Mughal time, these have been done, and some of the Islamic structures also had internal paintings or murals on walls, particularly during Mughal period. We are going to have more discussion about them, but this is the typical ornamentation style. This is the typical structural style, or is known as arcuate style, and the decorative pattern is known as arabesque style, and these are the different elements of the ornamentation style. Now we are going to move towards Qutub Minar. So Qutub Minar is considered to be one of the foremost buildings of Islamic architecture in India, one of the first. Okay, in fact, immediately after the establishment of Delhi Sultanate in 1193, after the defeat of Prithviraj Chauhan in the hands of Muhammad of Ghori, the entire Indian Empire was given to Qutbuddin Aibak, and he has started the Islamic architectural style in India. And as part of this, first and foremost, what he did was he constructed a complex known as Qutub Minar complex, and this complex has been built in a place where there earlier stood a Jain temple. A Jain temple was present there, and in fact, the Islamic invasion, immediately after the Islamic invasion, this entire Jain temple has been destroyed, and the pieces, pillars, okay, and whatever is useful in this Jain temple, it has been picked up and integrated into this structure, which is known as Qutub Minar complex. So it on one side, okay, even though it is a forced interchange of values, it is definitely represents an interchange of values, because the Hindu temple structure basis, or the Hindu temple structures architectural style, has been integrated into the Islamic architectural style. And when it comes to the Qutub Shahi complex, so what are the main elements of Qutub Shahi complex? In the Qutub Shahi complex, first and foremost is the Qutub Minar, which is number 4. Okay, here Qutub Minar is present. This is the entrance way, and after this is the 4 is a Qutub Minar complex, and 3 is iron pillar. Okay, here in fact, in the center of this, the iron pillar is present, and this, both of these structures, they are placed inside of a rectangular mosque, which is known as the Kawthul Islam Mosque. Okay, the entire blue outline is there now, that is Kawthul Islam Mosque. Inside that you have the Qutub Minar, you have the iron pillar. Okay, we are going to discuss each and every one's history also we are going to discuss. Then the 8th one is Alai Minar. Okay, it is a half constructed minar, which is known as Alai Minar. Then apart from Alai Minar, we have the Alai Gate, okay, or Alauddin Khilji Gate. Okay, Alauddin Gate or Alai Gate or Alai Minar. The Alai Minar is in fact designated as number, this is Alai Minar is Alai Gate is number 5. Alai Gate is number 5. Okay, when you have a look at this structure, the Alai Gate is present here. Okay, this is the Alai Gate. You will be having a better look without these lines. I am going to erase them. Okay, number 5 is Alai Gate. Alai Gate is number 5. Then apart from number 10 is Smith's Folly. This is also an important structure. Okay, then Tomb of Iltutmish is present at number 2. This is Tomb of Iltutmish, and this is Madrasa and Tomb of Alauddin Khilji is also present, which is number 1. So all of these structures are part of the Qutub Shahi complex. Just for awareness sake, we have to remember these things. Some of the things are very important, and we are going to discuss about them. Now, when it comes to the Qutub Shahi complex, okay, the first and foremost, I have discussed what are the constituent elements. When it comes to the history of Qutub Minar, we have discussed already that it has been built by Qutbuddin Aibak, but it has been built, the Qutub Minar has been built in memory of a famous Sufi saint by the name of Qutbuddin Bakhtiyar Khaki. It is not named after Qutbuddin Aibak, it is named after Qutbuddin Bakhtiyar Khaki, who is a Chishti Sufi saint, and he is a very famous Chishti Sufi saint, and in his memory this tower has been built. Okay, then apart from that, you have many other structures like Alai Darwaja. Okay, this is a place where Islamic architecture has evolved from its most primitive stage to its classical stage. All of these elements are present as part of Qutub complex. That is why it is very, very important for us. And when it comes to the history, I told you that Qutbuddin Aibak started the construction, and later day even Iltutmish worked on this construction style or this complex. Then apart from that, Alauddin Khilji is also associated, Sikandar Lodi is associated, Firoz Shah Tughlaq is also associated. 5 Delhi Sultanate rulers are directly associated with this complex. And when it comes to the central elements, today we are going to have a discussion about the main things are Qutub Minar, iron pillar we have to discuss about. Then apart from that, Alai Darwaja or Alai Gate. These are the 3 important things that we are going to have a discussion about. First and foremost, we will have a look at the Qutub Minar. The Qutub Minar we are going to have a look at. This is the Qutub Minar. Okay, this is the Qutub Minar, and it is part of. Okay, it is the outlook of the Qutub Minar complex or Qutub Minar is it is a tower-like structure. It is a truncated tower-like structure or truncated minaret. Okay, truncated means on base it is broad and on top it is very narrow. This is known as a truncated type. Then it has a fluted structure. It is not very uniform on the side. On the outside, it has a fluted structure. Flutes means it has the structures which come out a little and then go in, grooving kind of structure. Okay, let me be very clear. It is a grooving kind of structure which is known as the fluted structure. Then red and buff grey stone are used. Red and buff sandstone are used in the construction. Red and buff sandstone. Okay, that is the reason why you have red regions, you have buff colored regions too. Then apart from that, on top the two floors have been constructed with the help of marble. So red sandstone, buff sandstone. Then apart from that, you also see the usage of marble in as part of this structure. As part of this structure, it is a fluted structure and it is a truncated structure. Okay, and we can see that it contains a total of 5 stories, and each story it is differentiated from the story below with the help of balconies. Okay, these balconies they extend from the central structure and they have stalactite bracketing. Okay, it means that let's suppose this is the central structure, let's suppose this is the balcony, and it is supported by some things which are projections from below this way. Okay, you can see it very clearly in the image more clearly. Okay, I'll show you. Okay, these are the projections which actually support the balconies, which are known as stalactite structures. Stalactite structures which are part of this thing. Then when it comes to the construction here, okay, and this entire structure it contains calligraphy in Kufic style of Islamic architecture. Okay, or ornamentation. Kufic style of Islamic calligraphy. In Arabic, most of the verses of Quran are inscribed onto this complex. And when it comes to the history, it has been started by Qutbuddin Aibak, and later Iltutmish worked on it. Then after that, Firoz Shah Tughlaq is the one who constructed the 5 stories in this the Qutub Minar, and after that during the time of Sikandar Lodi there was a major earthquake and the top 2 floors they fell off. Then during the time of Britishers, Lord Wellesley he sent a person by the name of Robert Smith in order to renovate the structure, and Robert Smith what he did was, apart from renovating the Qutub Minar to its original structure, what he did was he tried to add a chhatri. Okay, this is the chhatri which he tried to add to the top of the minar, and this is typically a cupola. Okay, chhatri or cupola it is. Okay, and this cupola it is a format of Bengali architectural style, and the Britishers did first initially they installed it on top of it, but later Lord Hardinge he considered that this structure it does not do justice to the essentially Islamic structure of this minaret. That is the reason why this cupola has been removed and it has been placed in the complex itself, and this is known as Smith's Folly today. Smith's Folly today, and you can see it also when you visit Qutub complex. Then apart from that, you have other structures which are part of this shrine is the Alai Darwaja. This is very, very important. Alai Darwaja, Alauddin Khilji, after his successful victory over the Gujarat region, he came back and he constructed this, and this contains all the classical Islamic architectural style. It contains a true arch, okay, one thing, and it also contains a true dome and a true arch. Both of them are for the first time constructed in Alai Darwaja. When it comes to the interior, the exteriors, they also used yellow sandstone and red sandstone along with marble. So all the 3 different kinds of stones have been used for ornamentation. You can also see the jali work, which is a part of Gujarat architectural style originally, and here the central arch, okay, the central arch which is present here, the central arch has some lotus bud like projections, and this arch is a horseshoe shaped arch. And when it comes to the interior, the entire interior is very profusely and intricately carved with the help of arabesque technique. And here as part of this arabesque technique, what they did was they have used the calligraphy in Nasak script. Okay, there it is Kufi, here it is Nasak script. So that is how the entire thing has been decorated, and you can also see the jali work. We have discussed about it. This is Alai Darwaja for you. Okay, and it is made in commemoration of his victory over Gujarat. Then apart from that, we are going to have a discussion about Kautal Islam Mosque, which is considered to be one of the earliest mosque in India. This mosque of the Kautal Islam Mosque, okay, it contains pillared structure. It contains many arches which are false arches. It is constructed during the time of Qutbuddin Aibak. False arches and false domes are part of this structure because at that point of time the Hindu architects who tried to construct this, they were not very convenient or they were not very experienced with respect to construction of arch. That is the reason why they've constructed all false arches which don't have actually uniform pressure distribution system. They are just present as part of convention, but they do not serve any architectural purpose. They do not serve any architectural purpose. Then apart from that, if you see the mosque, see clearly, very clearly, these are the pillars of a Hindu Jaina temple. You can see the images of gods here, okay, human figures, floral design, all of these elements are part of Hindu structure. These pillars have been directly lifted from the earlier Jaina temple and they have been integrated as part of this Kautal Islam mosque. This is considered to be one of the earliest mosque of India. Apart from this, there is Aday Dhinka Jhopra, which is present in Ajmer, but this is the earliest mosque in India, in Delhi, earliest mosque in India, in Delhi, and it is completely in the format of Triviate pattern. All arches are false, dome is also false, and it contains pillared structures. This is part of this, and here I have already shown this blue structure is Kautal Islam Mosque, and inside the Kautal Islam Mosque itself you have the Qutub Minar. Then apart from Qutub Minar, you also have one more important thing which is known as Iron Pillar. The Iron Pillar, in fact, it has been erected by Chandragupta II during Guptan period, and this pillar, it is known, or it is meant, or it is in fact placed in front of a Vishnu temple, and it was not initially present in Delhi. Okay, it was initially erected in front of a temple in Udaigiri, the Vishnu temple complex at Udaigiri, and from Udaigiri in 10th century Angapala, he shifted the pillar from Udaigiri to Delhi, and today also it stands there in the Qutub complex. Today also it stands there in Qutub complex. It is known as a Garuda pillar, but the top capital it is missing today. But the pillar's most significant thing is, in fact, it has been erected nearly 1500 years ago. Till date it has not rusted, which actually shows the metallic purity of iron which has been used here, which is a emblem for the mastery of Indian craftsmen. And on this you have a inscription in Sanskrit, okay, Sanskrit inscription which has been written in Brahmi script, and it refers to a king by the name of Vikramaditya, and it has been attributed by the historians to Chandragupta II, who ruled the Guptan Empire, okay, during its classical period. Then apart from this, you also have, this is a 7.21 meter tall pillar. Then apart from this, so these are some of the structures. This is the iron pillar for you. Okay, the iron pillar, 7.21 meter tall iron pillar, which is present inside the Kautal Islam Mosque too. Okay, this is a false arch. In fact, it is part of Kautal Islam Mosque itself. It is false arch. It does not have a uniform pressure distribution system. Okay, but the first true arch and true dome, it has been built by Alauddin Khilji as part of Alai Darwaja. Then apart from this, there are other structures which are part. Okay, as part of this structure, we have already discussed about the Qutub complex. Okay, we already had a discussion about the Qutub complex, madrasa, and so we have talked about the iron pillar, Qutub Minar. Okay, the Kautal Islam Mosque we discussed about, Alai Darwaja we have discussed about, and apart from this there is a structure called Alai Minar, Smith's Folly we have discussed. Alai Minar is in fact Alauddin Khilji, he started construction of Alai Minar in order to as a competition to the Qutub Minar, but in fact he was unable to finish it. That's why it is a half done, and it is present in the complex today, and it is number 8 here. Alai Minar is present. Then apart from this, we also have Tomb of Iltutmish, which has false domes and false arches. Then Madrasa and Tomb of Alauddin Khilji are present. Okay, this is the Madrasa. You can see the okay, very clearly you can see the structure where madrasa is there. Okay, this is the madrasa structure. Pillared halls are present. Then apart from that, the Alauddin Khilji's tomb is also present here. It is a multi-domed structure. So all of these things are part of the Qutub Shahi complex. So this finishes our discussion on the Qutub Minar and Qutub Minar complex. We have talked about the Islamic architectural style basics. Then apart from the Islamic architectural style basics, we also talked about how they are represented in the Qutub Minar complex. We talked about the Qutub Minar. We talked about the Alai Darwaja. We talked about Kautal Islam Mosque, what kind of architectural style it used. All of these things we had a discussion about. Now if you have a look at which of the criteria or UNESCO World Heritage Site criteria it satisfies. Okay, now if you have a look, it is definitely of outstanding universal value. Definitely it is an outstanding universal value. Then it is also considered to be unique or exceptional testimony to a cultural tradition, because it is a formative phase of Islamic architectural style, and it is also illustrative of significant stage in human history. Definitely it is, in fact, this entire complex, it represented the entry of or the change from the early medieval time to the establishment of Delhi Sultanate. It definitely marked this transition. Okay, significant stage in human history it represented. Then Apart from that, it is also a masterpiece of human creative genius. All of these criteria are satisfied by the Qutub complex. All of these criteria are satisfied by the Qutub complex. That is the reason why it has been included into the World Heritage Site list today. Okay. Now there are two questions which are pinned to the comment section below. Please do solve them and subscribe to Manifest IAS for more such videos. Thank you.